Most men go through life confused by the emotional behavior of women until they've been heartbroken, till they've trusted deeply, only to be ghosted, betrayed, or discarded without explanation. It's only then that they begin to wake up to a hard truth. Women live in a world that doesn't fully exist, not because they're malicious or broken, but because their perception of reality is filtered through emotion, not logic. They don't experience the world as it is, they experience it as it feels, and that emotional lens distorts everything. It reshapes events, changes meaning, and overrides consistency. What felt true in one moment is no longer valid in the next, simply because her feelings have changed. And if you, as a man, don't understand this, you'll constantly find yourself spinning in confusion, trying to reconcile what she said yesterday with how she's acting today. You'll try to piece together a logical pattern where there is none, because her emotional world isn't built on logic, it's built on sensation, impulse, and perception. When a woman says she loves you, she means it in that moment, it's real. But if her emotional state shifts a week later, that love can vanish without explanation or warning. And when you question her, "But what about everything you said?" she'll look at you like you're the one who's lost, because to her, she wasn't lying. She just feels differently now. In her emotional world, that's a valid reason to leave, to switch sides, to change her truth. There's no malice behind it. There's just no consistency either. And this is why so many men feel blindsided. You thought you were building something based on trust and loyalty? But she was floating in a current of feeling, constantly shifting. Untethered from the stable ground you assumed you were both standing on. Asterisk, a woman doesn't fall in love with who you truly are. Not at first. She falls in love with the idea of you, the story she creates in her mind, the energy, the potential, the dream. Before she even knows the real man behind the surface, she's already imagined a future, felt the chemistry, and filled in the blanks with fantasy. You mistake this for genuine connection, for real emotional depth. But what you're experiencing is emotional projection. She's not loving you, she's loving what she wants you to be. You become the character in a movie she's written in her head. And when the real you starts to show, when your imperfections emerge and reality begins to set in, she feels let down, not because you failed, but because you didn't match her fantasy. That's when the shift begins. She pulls back. The passion fades. The affection grows colder. And you're left wondering, what happened to the woman who was so into you just weeks ago? The truth. That woman never actually existed. She was a product of her imagination, an emotional high built on hopes, not substance. This is also why her words often contradict themselves. She says she wants a strong man who's sensitive, a confident leader who lets her take charge, a provider who doesn't care about money. These aren't logical desires, they're emotional contradictions. But in her world, they feel valid, so she believes them. She isn't seeking logic or structure, she's chasing a feeling, a sensation, an emotional spark. And when that spark dies, she redefines her needs entirely. Not because she planned it, not because she lied, but because her emotional compass always points to wherever the strongest feeling is. And unless you understand that, you'll always be one step behind. Trying to navigate a storm with a broken map, asterisk, the modern world has amplified her emotional fantasy into something nearly untouchable. With every scroll, swipe, and story, she's immersed in a constant flood of carefully curated perfection romantic couples on beaches. Men with six-packs and six-figure incomes, surprise proposals, poetic texts, and candlelit dates that look straight out of a movie. These aren't real moments, they're highlight reels, yet they feel real to her, and more importantly, they feel better than her current reality. So now, she's no longer comparing you to the truth, she's comparing you to a fantasy that's been edited, filtered, and rehearsed. Yeah. You become the benchmark for what's wrong, while imaginary men on screens become the ideal. You could be loyal, hardworking, emotionally consistent, but if you don't deliver the dopamine hit that her phone does, you start to feel like a letdown. The worst part is she doesn't even realize this comparison is happening. It's subconscious. It feels natural to her. Modern culture only makes it worse. She's been told that her emotions are always valid, That if she feels something, it must be true. That discomfort means something is wrong. That boredom is a red flag. That if a relationship requires effort, it's the wrong relationship. When reality kicks in when you can't text all day because you're working, or when you don't express love like a fictional character, she starts to question everything. Not because you're failing, but because you no longer match the fantasy world she's been conditioned to desire. And if you try to challenge this mindset, if you bring logic into the conversation, you risk being called cold, controlling, or toxic. But the truth is, you're the only one still living in reality. And in a culture that rewards illusion, that makes you not just rare but dangerous to her fantasy, asterisk, you can't save her. That's the hard truth most men resist because they want to believe that if they just love her better, explain things more clearly, or remain patient enough, she eventually wake up from the illusion and choose reality. But she won't. Not until she's ready, and most aren't. Not because they're cruel, but because they genuinely don't see the difference between emotion and truth. You could pour your heart out, sacrifice your peace, and try to anchor her with loyalty, and it still won't be enough. Because when a woman is ruled by shifting emotions, no amount of consistency can compete with the instability she's addicted to. Her fantasy doesn't require facts, it only needs feelings. And when those feelings fade, she'll write a new story with a new lead role. And you'll be cut from the script without a second thought. That's why your job isn't to fix her or prove yourself. Your job is to stay rooted in your truth. Stop explaining logic to someone who redefines reality every time her mood changes. Stop trying to be stable in a relationship built on emotional quicksand. Watch what she does, not what she says. Believe her patterns, not her promises. A woman who lives in fantasy will always test a grounded man, not out of malice, but because your stability threatens her chaos. She creates storms just to see if she can shake you. And if you bend, she'll lose respect. If you stand firm, she may rise to meet she may leave. But either way, you win, because a man anchored in reality doesn't chase illusions. He doesn't beg for love in a world of make-believe. He leads, and those who are ready for truth will either join him or disappear, revealing they were never real to begin with. Asterisk, the strongest men don't argue with fantasy, they simply stop entertaining it. They don't lose themselves trying to decode contradictions, fix chaos, or carry the emotional burden of someone who hasn't done the inner work. These men have learned a truth that most discover only after being broken. You cannot build anything lasting with someone who is still lost. An illusion? That's why they no longer chase, no longer prove, no longer beg to be seen. They build, they lead. They protect their peace like it's sacred, because it is. And the irony is, once a woman finally tires of chasing sparks and starts seeking something real, it's these men she remembers. Not because they waited for her, but because they stood firm while she drifted. They weren't placeholders. They were the men she couldn't manipulate, the ones who didn't flinch, didn't fold, didn't try to compete with her fantasy. Those men had already chosen truth, and truth never chases emotion. That's why your mission isn't to be more exciting. It's more romantic, more emotionally available, just to win someone's inconsistent attention. Your mission is to build your world before you ever let someone enter it. A world built on vision, discipline, values, and peace. And when a woman enters that world, don't judge her by how she acts when things are good. Watch how she behaves when she's challenged. Does she bring growth, or does she bring chaos? Can she handle your stillness, your clarity, your strength? Does she try to shake it? Because if she can't walk with you in truth, she has no place in the life you've built. Let her chase butterflies and fireworks somewhere else. Didn't come this far to be someone's emotional roller coaster. You came to build something real, and the right woman will recognize that and rise.